The Newsline.
Hello and welcome back to Newsline, brought to you by People's TV. In today's news commentary, we draw your attention to the worsening water shortage crisis in Iran. This issue has been a recurring topic in our previous reports, where we highlighted repeated warnings from experts urging the Iranian government to end its war efforts and address this critical problem instead. Recent reports indicate that water levels in the reservoirs near Mashhad, which are essential for electricity generation, have dropped to less than 3%. At this rate, these reservoirs are expected to shut down soon, bringing electricity production in the region to a complete halt. In addition to the water supply crisis and the electricity shortage, air pollution levels in Iran have now reached a red alert. Tragically, even as the nation faces multiple crises and its civilian population suffers, Tehran continues to focus its efforts and resources on asserting regional influence, while its economy hangs by a thread. Iran is under immense internal and external pressure, teetering on the brink of economic or political collapse, even as it strives to establish itself as the dominant terrorist state in the region. Meanwhile, the New York Times reports that during its last major assault, Iran launched approximately 500 missiles toward Israel. However, Iran is now rebuilding its arsenal at an alarming pace, and experts warn that it could be capable of launching as many as 2,000 missiles if another conflict erupts. Recent video footage shows Iran developing massive missiles capable of causing large-scale destruction with a single strike. Commenting further, the news outlet stated that it is no longer a question of if another war will break out, but when. Both U.S. and Iranian intelligence services have confirmed that another conflict with Israel is imminent. Despite Tehran's attempts to conceal its nuclear and missile ambitions, Israel is fully aware that Iran is rapidly advancing its weapons programs. Given this reality, Israel is unlikely to wait until it is too late to respond. It is therefore reasonable to assume that another Israeli strike on Iran could occur in the near future. Turning our attention to Syria, President Ahmed al-Shara is currently on an official visit to Washington. Notably, the U.S. Department of the Treasury lifted sanctions on both al-Shara and his Minister of Internal Affairs, Anas Hassan, just one day prior to his arrival at the White House. As previously reported, al-Shara's visit takes place against the backdrop of a $10 million bounty that had been placed on his head. Nevertheless, his progressive outlook and diplomatic approach merit recognition, and leaders across the Arab world would be wise to take note of his example. For instance, Qatar, which publicly presents itself as a peace-loving nation and a promoter of stability, continues to support terrorism behind the scenes. Al-Shara, on the other hand, though once known as a militant leader, is now making a genuine effort to reform and pursue more diplomatic and democratic paths. Al-Shara can be seen making a sincere effort to restore diplomatic relations with European nations, despite the ongoing internal challenges in Syria. Meanwhile, the United Nations has indicated that Israel and Syria can sign an agreement at any time, with the likelihood of joining the Abraham Accords. Countries such as Saudi Arabia are expected to support this positive momentum. This represents significant progress toward lasting peace in the Middle East. Turning to the Gaza Strip, global attention is focused on roughly 200 Hamas fighters believed to be trapped in tunnel networks. Egypt has requested that Israel allow these fighters safe passage to surrender to Egyptian authorities on the condition that they first relinquish their weapons, despite public statements from Hamas spokespeople rejecting surrender. Egypt has also offered to inspect the tunnels before permitting Israel to destroy them. Israel, however, has not altered its position. It insists that Hamas fighters must surrender unarmed and leave the tunnels in custody, otherwise Israeli forces will continue offensive operations to eliminate the threat. The United States is reportedly urging Israel to consider a more flexible approach toward these combatants. Israel is fully aware that any fighters allowed safe passage from the tunnels could return to combat. Consequently, it is unwilling to release them unless they surrender and lay down their weapons. It is likely that nations sympathetic to Hamas, including Egypt and Qatar, have urged the Trump administration to pressure the Netanyahu government into providing such a safe passage. Clearly, the roughly 200 fighters are now cornered by the IDF. Unless they surrender, they are likely to perish within the tunnel network. Nations perceived as sympathetic to Hamas are reportedly using all available channels to secure safe passage for those inside, yet Israel remains resolute in its stance. In closing, 11 years after his death, the body of an Israeli soldier was finally returned to Israel. Lieutenant General Eyal Zamir, IDF Chief of Staff, stated that hundreds of IDF personnel carried out meticulously planned operations to recover the remains of the fallen soldier, Lieutenant Hadar Golden. The Israeli military places immense importance on bringing its fallen soldiers home. This principle extends to operations in Syria, where the IDF has actively sought the remains of fallen comrades, and it is applied equally in efforts to recover the bodies of deceased hostages. Meanwhile, Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz stated that the ongoing military campaign will continue until the last Hamas fighters are neutralized and all tunnel networks are destroyed. If this report helped you see the situation on the ground clearly, don't keep it to yourself. Like, share, and subscribe to People's TV, where truth has no agenda, and facts speak louder than spin.
Subscribe us for more details.